There's a lot of confusion going around about the WGA or Writers Guild of America contract that involved AI and what that exactly means for us, the fiction authors and maybe screenwriters of the world. Let's talk a little bit about it. So, I'm a little late to this, but the WGA or the Writers Guild of America recently came to a tentative agreement with the Motion Pictures Association, and we know they were on strike for a long time for various reasons, and AI was only one of them. But we're only going to be talking about AI for the purposes of this video because there's a lot of confusion around some of these results, and I don't usually like to do videos like this. The legal and copyright side of AI is not that interesting to me because I kind of feel like, it's not really going to affect me that much from what little I know about it. But there is some things circulating around on social media that are very misleading. And so I had to come in and make a video about it, even if I am a little late to the party. So this right here is the section all about artificial intelligence and this is not a full contract that I have access to here. I'll link to this below. This is just, kind of a summary of the minimum agreement that the WGA has with the Motion Pictures Association and all of the different studios out there. And so let's just go through these one by one, shall we? We have established regulations for the use of artificial intelligence, AI, on NBA covered projects in the following ways. MBA, by the way, means minimum basic agreement. So there's always room for nuance here. There may be some expansion, some, massaging of some of these things, but this is the minimum basic agreement, and the greater details will be hashed out later, I presume. This first one right here is the one that's garnering the most attention and getting the most misunderstanding. It says AI can't write or rewrite literary material, and AI generated material will not be considered source material under the NBA, meaning that AI generated material can't be used to undermine a writer's credit or separated rights. So people are taking this phrase and getting the wrong idea from it, and you'll see this a lot. There's a lot of memes and tweets going around about how what this means is that if you write an AI authored book, that book can no longer be optioned for adaptation at a movie studio. And that's just 100% not true. Because first of all, the WGA really has no say about what should or shouldn't be considered source material. Like, they have no say in optioning the rights of a book, right? That's not their thing. They would have a say if they had a writer in their organization adapting a book, they would have a say about that writer and about that adaptation, but not the source material from whence it comes. I think what's happening here is a lot of authors are sort of taking something that's not meant for them and sort of making it about them. And that's where we get to the confusion here. We got to remember that this is about the WGA and the Motion Pictures Association, that those are the two parties involved. This does not involve authors. This does not involve any of the big publishers. It's just those two organizations. And so what this means is exactly what it says here in the second part of the statement, meaning that AI generated material can't be used to undermine a writer's credit or separated rights. So what this means is that the studio can't use ChatGPT to create a script, for example, and then give the credit to ChatGPT and not to a writer. Basically, this is protecting the rights of the individual, and it has nothing to do with the actual content of the script. It's just making sure that script is attributed to a writer, and that writer gets paid fairly, as they should. The next statement is also clarifying here. A writer can choose to use AI when performing writing services if the company consents and provided that the writer follows applicable company policies, but the company can't require the writer to use AI software when performing writing services. So this is also a actually pretty forward-thinking clause here to say, The WGA knows that AI is coming and it's not going anywhere, and that their writers, the people in the WGA, are likely to use it. And even if the WGA writers aren't planning on using it to write a whole script, there's gotta be instances where a writer will be like, oh, I need a certain dialogue that gets this across, and I can't really think of it off the top of my head. ChatGPT, why don't you give me 5 different options? And then they take a look at those options, pick one that works, maybe modify it a little bit. Like that sort of use case of ChatGPT or any other AI model is, I think, going to be the most common for most writers. There are only going to be a small few, like myself, that are using AI for significant portions of the text. But I think pretty much everybody within a few years is going to be using ChatGPT to get over some kind of stump that they run into as they write. And that's certainly going to be the case. And they know that. And so they've added this clause here. But they also make sure to require that the company can't require the writer to use AI software. So say the company said, we want to force a writer to make 10 different scripts using ChatGPT, and you have to use ChatGPT because otherwise it's going to take you too long to write it. We're not going to pay you as much, all this stuff. So they're not allowed to do that, which is good. The third one here is the company must disclose to the writer if any material given to the writer has been generated by AI or incorporate AI generated material. That would make sense. It's just a standard measure of transparency, which I think is fine. And then last, the WGA reserves the right to assert that exploitation of writers' materials to train AI is prohibited by NBA or other law. So this isn't the WGA trying to prevent the use of their author's work to be used to train AI. This is just giving them the right to protest, essentially, and the right to make that assertion if they feel it's necessary. They're kind of adding in here that there may be use cases for or against. There may be instances where the screenwriter wants to let their material be used by AI. Whatever the case may be, this is one of those that isn't perfectly clear in my mind, but that's what it says to me. And so that is all that is in here about artificial intelligence. And on the whole, I say this is actually a really good thing for AI writers because it is protecting the rights of the writer, but still giving the writer the option to use AI in whatever capacity they see fit, knowing that it's not going away. They clearly know what they were doing when they drafted this. Their lawyers knew what they were doing. They weren't going into this with any kind of hot-headed notions about what should or shouldn't be when it comes to AI. They knew what was coming, and they added in some really agreeable and, I would say, reasonable clauses here about how it should be used to prevent these big corporations from abusing their power, which they do. Like, let's not get the wrong impression. I'm not saying that everybody that works for the big motion picture companies are evil. Certainly not. They're businesses. I run a business, but it's a very different thing when you have a large business versus a small business. And sometimes you have to have some certain frameworks, some certain things in place so that you can protect the right of workers in different ways. And that's a whole conversation. But overall, I'd say this is a win for authors. It is a win for AI writers, and overall a good thing for just about everybody. So those are my thoughts on the Hollywood strike and the tentative deal that they came to. And let me know if you have any questions, and I will try to get to them and answer them all. And I'll see you in the next video.